Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday MODcast. Tonight, we are going to be talking about our recent trip to DC, as well as some new developments and things that have come up. We're going to get a little bit more into what we think happened, as far as a little bit more about our experience. I will be joined tonight by Mr. John Lee and Mr. Mike Wilkinson himself. Mike will be with us as soon as he is ready. That being said, I hope that you guys have had an amazing Monday, and I hope that you guys are doing well today. I hope that you were able to reach out to some friends and make contact with people and let them know that you care about them. Okay, so I got to tell you, it's really, really hilarious. See, John's already here. He's in the background. He's giving me sign language, but he doesn't actually know sign language. If he knew sign language, he could just sign it to me, and I'd know what the hell he was trying to say, because I do know a little bit of that. Anyways, so yeah, we're going to dig into what we feel has happened at what's up, Chuck? What's up, Mimi? Carrie, hello, Rhonda. But yeah, we want to dig into DC, what we think has happened, why it went the way that it did. We don't really have a whole lot of actual factual information, but we have our opinions and we have what we think is going on. And we'll share that with you guys tonight, as well as go over some of our thoughts and feelings about the trip overall. I know that you've seen a video from Mike today, a really great one. If you haven't seen Mike's post today, I encourage you to go look it up. It was really an amazing one. We are also going to talk a little bit about the Proudboys event that is coming up later this week. There's been a lot of talk. We don't have a lot of time to make or to really talk about it and figure out what it is. But because it's so close to Boise, we're just going to go ahead and let you guys know right now that John and I have already decided to go. So it's going to be a quick turnaround, and we will be back on the road this weekend, heading back out to Portland for another protest. And maybe this time it will actually be a protest, or maybe it'll turn into another peaceful gathering of Americans that don't want to argue with each other because I'm there. But we have no idea why that's why that would happen. So, excuse me. So, all in all, you guys, I'd just like to hit a few things about my personal perspective about DC before I bring John and Mike on. Well, Mike when he gets here. Honestly, I've had a day to think about it. I've talked to my sons about it. I've talked to my kids about it. Talked to my folks about it. And it truly is one of those experiences that I really just don't have the words. I am truly and utterly blown away by everything that I saw there. The monuments mean so much to me. And I got to say this. What's incredible to me is not just the beauty of the place, but the symbolism and the meaning behind it. It's an incredible thing to witness. And I want to encourage every single one of you, if you ever in your life get the chance to go, don't miss it. Don't miss it. Go see it for yourself. Believe me, it is worth it. It will change your perspective. It'll change you. It'll change you in a way that is profound. It'll change you in a way that you probably didn't even know was possible. Great meeting up with you guys there. I'm assuming that's either Steve, Khalid, or Chuck. I'm not sure which one, but I'm assuming that's who it is. Oh, wait, it could be, let us know who you are, Facebook user. But honestly, guys, what an amazing experience. Oh, is that Chuck Holton? Chuck Holton's the boss. What's up, Chuck? And had I not had that experience, man, I don't know. Like, I've always been such a passionate person when it comes to the American history and the things that I love about it. And it's really, really difficult to put into words. But I want you guys to know too, like, one of the things I've always been really strong about is that we shouldn't, the monuments and all these things are sacred in a way. They have an effect on us as people. And I know right now there's conversation in DC about taking down the Washington Monument. I mean, unfortunately, that is a real thing. That's happening right now. And that cannot be allowed to happen. It just simply cannot. And I hope that anybody I honestly, I think anybody that's ever been to DC has to know this. And so the fact that this is even coming up as a thing is kind of blows me away. But So I think it's time to bring John on. John, is it time to bring you on? Yeah, it's time to bring John on. So I'm going to bring John Lee in. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation. Please, if you have questions about DC, if you have questions about our trip, if there's things you want to know, this is your chance to ask us and talk to us about it. So please write your questions out in the comments. Let us know the things that you want to know about, and we will answer your guys' questions about those today before we jump into the Proudboy apocalypse and that whole thing. So without further ado, Mr. John Lee himself in his pretty blue-green background.
Delusions of grandeur self-realized, my friend.
Sweet. Hey, how's the recovery? You feeling good? You back into routine?
Okay, so people told me DC was small. I'd like to officially call them all liars. They were pretty. It was pretty incredibly how much distance we actually covered, because like you get wrapped up in it a little bit. You get like sucked into the sanctity of that place and what it's supposed to be like representative of when you're standing in front of those monuments and stuff. So there'll be times when we look up and we're like, oh my God, we're 5 miles from where the Uber dropped us off. No wonder my leg's dragging behind me on a string. So like I just think it's so funny, that image every morning coming off all hoppity and horty, and at the end, like literally just totally crippled, dragging our way up the stairs to our walk up, just limping and going, we got to go live. We're stuffing pizza in our face 5 minutes before the live. Like, it was shabby. We were glad that part wasn't broadcasted. I'll tell you that much.
Carrie, to answer your question, yes and no. Honestly, we went there with a purpose in mind, and I would be being less than honest if I said there wasn't a level of disappointment that it didn't come out. But at the same time, I was relieved that it didn't happen. But it did leave me with a lot of questions, like a lot of questions in my head as to how in the hell do you stop 10,000 people from showing up in 2 hours? Like, that's the biggest question I've got in my mind. It doesn't make any sense. And, I can tell you, like, from my personal experiences on like job sites and working and things like that, if you want to get 10,000 guys that are looking to get paid not to show up, don't pay them. So that's my personal thought. I honestly, guys, I don't know how they could have shut that thing down that quickly. So, but no, relieved, yes. Disappointed, kind of. Curious as all hell as to what the hell we just saw happen.
I was disappointed that we were left with any answers. Like, we really wanted to talk to these people just to figure out, like what, and like, for lack of a better way to put it, is like, what in the hell are you thinking? Like, what? Why did you choose the term siege of the White House? Why are you working with a Canadian company to do these things? Why, for instance, on the Occupy Wall Street movement, did you have no clear plan nor actually any demands to see any of this supposed corporatism come to, justice or whatever? Why are you calling out to the Black Lives Matter movement and simultaneously calling out to other left movements just based on the fact that they're angry with the United States government at the moment? Like, to me, that's the only unifying factor, and that left a lot more questions than answers, because these are the things that we really need to know. Like, Breathe America, right? We don't work unless we talk to people. We actually have to get in front of people and have discussions to foster that understanding, to figure out what the issue is, to bridge the divide. Well, if they just keep running away every time Captain Breathe America shows up with his little peace talk shit, then we're never going to get any answers. I'm just saying.
By the way, I don't know who coined that in one of the lives in DC, but that is one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard in my life. Thank you for that. Biggest takeaway. What was I most surprised about? John, you first.
Oh my God. So my biggest takeaway was I am really looking forward to living in the White House in 2024, because my city will be a foundation of freedom for the whole entire world. Now, we talk a lot about DC in the construct or in the context of the government itself, right? But I think we really have been overlooking a huge part of DC, which is the city itself, the culture, and the symbolism that it has. Like, you and I were seeing, Pat, when we were down there is I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
So Pat, anyways,
Hey, Amber.
one thing that you and I noticed was there's a lot of monuments to foreign heroes of freedom. And we've never been told about that. We've never, maybe we glanced over in a textbook along a time, but when you think of Washington, D.C., you don't think of Simon Bolivar, the liberator. You know what I mean? Like it really, to me, when I took it all in, well, as much as I could, that there's a general theme for that city, and that city loves freedom, liberty, and it's ironic because, in my opinion, the thing that impacts the most of their freedoms and the liberty also dwells in Washington, D.C.
Very true. Very true. Catherine, for me, biggest takeaway, 3 days isn't enough time.
Yeah.
Not enough time to take it all in. Everything that I saw humbled me. Literally everything that I saw humbled me. Everything that I got to witness and see and be a part of was absolutely a dream come true for me. Biggest surprise, it's honestly, it's not even a question how incredibly big Arlington is. I had no idea. The truth is that place surprised the hell out of me because I had no idea how big that place really was. To see it that way, to be able to walk those streets and to see it for myself. And I don't know if the camera did it justice or not. I don't know how much you guys were able to take away from that, but I'm telling you, like, it is truly unbelievable in size and scope. And when you see it firsthand for yourself, I'm telling you guys right now, that place will change you for life. I know it's had an incredible impact on me. And, maybe one of the biggest takeaways from the whole trip as a whole, all things considered, is this. Whether or not, whatever we're talking about in Breathe America, whatever's going on in today's politics, whatever we're dealing with when we're talking about freedoms and liberties and all of the issues that we are constantly being bombarded with in today's world, none of this is new. Like, it's written on the walls. They were talking about it in the 60s. They were talking about it in the, in other parts. Like, this isn't new to us. Like, this is the same damn fight we've been fighting as a country for a long time, probably since the very beginning. And I, for one, think that it is absolutely time that we finish it. We finish it. We put it to bed once and for all. Let's see. What did Rhonda have to say? Regarding the folks you met and interacted with, did you get a sense of confusion, anger, patriotism, hate, pride, or unrest? All of the above. All of the above. I did not meet a single unpatriotic person in Washington, D.C., whether it was from, the street philosophers and the homeless, to the guy standing out, with, like Mike talked about, he's been protesting in front of the White House for 30 years, 39 years or something like that. All of the above. Everybody we interacted with loves America, but everybody that we interacted with also has concerns about where we're at and where we're going. And sometimes those are drastically different concerns, but they're concerns nonetheless. So I think it's the same. I don't. What about you, John? Did you see anything different?
Not really. Like, I was really surprised that during our travels in DC, we didn't run across a whole lot of people that were actively promoting a side in our face. You know what I mean? Like, we went down to the protesters, right? And they had some things to say and stuff, but they largely left us alone, even though we straight up said from the get-go, we're not really in support of you guys. We're not really here. We're kind of in the middle. But I just noticed everybody had something to say about, they wish the hate would go away, or the times are really hard and they wish it didn't always used to be this way, etc. Like, everybody had a sense of regret for what was going on. But, like, we didn't have anybody chase us down the road and scream Black Lives Matter at us. We didn't have anybody look at our Breathe Americas and think that we were saying I can't breathe and chase us out of town for being whatever. We were dressed in black. We had black masks on and stuff like that. Nobody assumed we were Antifa. Like, from the Secret Service agents we talked to all the way down to the common people on the street, most of the people were incredibly friendly. The ones that weren't friendly, they either didn't acknowledge you, and they were usually upper class people. And I'm not saying anything about upper class people. It's just what I noticed. And maybe they're more guarded. Maybe they're, they're more feeling that protection of the city, so to speak. But I noticed that who shied from talking to us, man? Nobody. And we came in and said what we were doing, and everybody loved it.
Without, everybody that we talked to about who we were and what we represent, like from all spectrums, were all about it. But without further ado, we have another guest here joining us right now. So let me bring on Mr. Mike. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing, brother?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
We're not bad. We finally got some rest. I took a nap today. I feel great.
I just woke up from a nap.
2:00 and I just crashed. I was like, "Buh."
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Been living on these since I got back.
Real quick, Amber, to answer your question, I think John just hit on it, but yeah, the people in the community were really great that we talked to. And your next question was, do I feel that history is repeating itself? In some ways, I think it's always repeating itself. So, yeah, Mike, give you I want to personally, I just got to throw this out here. Your video today, I didn't know you were doing that, and that was beautiful, brother. I appreciate it, and all the things you had to say. Like, man, thank you. Like, if you guys haven't seen the video that I'm talking about, Mike posted a video today. Please go check it out. It's a beautiful perspective of not just DC, but of how this man here sees it. And yeah, I mean, I was very touched, my friend, very touched.
Well, thank you.
What was your primary takeaway from DC? This was a good question. So it came up earlier before you jumped on. So I wanted to ask you.
There's so many things on so many different wavelengths. I think one of the main things is just a lot of these things, it's hard to understand the weight of, the scope of the, like, whether it be the monuments, whether it be the level of patriotism in DC. Like, I feel like we didn't run into a single person that wasn't patriotic. Whether it was a homeless man barefoot on a bench, or a cab driver, or every single person not only loves that city, loves this country, even if it's not doing much for them. I think one of the things that we often lose sight of when we talk about politics and different factions of people and all this stuff is we lose sight of the potential. And I think a lot of people who really understand our country, a lot of people who really have a deep love for our country, it's not necessarily what it is. It's about the potential that it has, what it can be, what it should be, what the Constitution and Declaration of Independence say it's going to be. You know, I think we often get too wrapped up in little things to see the big picture sometimes.
I think that's true. Carrie has a beautiful question here, and I want to give each of you guys a chance to answer it before I answer it. Go ahead, either one of you.
Mike, you're on the spot.
I did leave with a little bit more hope. I think it's really refreshing to see a lot of the things we did. It's heavy. Some of it's real heavy. Walking through Arlington and stuff like that is definitely an experience, and it definitely touched us, and it definitely, I don't know, took its own emotional toll, but it was worth it. but it definitely leaves you with more hope. Seeing how many people have fought and died for this country, not just at Arlington, looking at all those war monuments, looking at the list of names, it gives you hope because you realize the scope of just how many people are willing to fight for this country, just how many people are willing to die for this country, to sacrifice for this country, to give themselves for this country.
Yeah, it's well said, brother. John, what do you think?
Oh boy, we gave you the controls and now you're just taking advantage. Look at this.
I've always had controls, John. I just let you play well. I just play well with others.
I knew my executive producer credit was a sham. All right, so
So of course you're the executive.
Just get used to calling me the executive. So this trip definitely gave me more hope because, look, I don't want to get all freaky deaky with you guys and give you some pseudo spiritualism here, but I felt God in the nation's capital. And the reason I felt God is because I think anything that you can describe as God is wrapped up in freedom, liberty, and the ideals of democracy. And I think that striding around with those great men in stone, and I mean, seeing us honor those that aren't even American for what they have done to advance that agenda, that's something that transcends borders. That's something that transcends nations. That's something that transcends all ideologies. So if it transcends these things, then it is transcendental. And if it's transcendental, then it is divine, even if you believe that divinity is actually just the nature of the universe itself. I can tell you right now, freedom sings in DC. And if you listen, you can hear it. You can hear it. And it's not always a happy song. Sometimes it's a very mournful song. You can feel the pain there as well. But the spirit's actually carried in the people of DC. And those people, you can feel patriotism, you can feel freedom, you can feel this overbearing ideology of rightness, of a certain amount of righteousness in what we are trying to accomplish, what this entire great experiment is trying to accomplish. So when you are there and you're facing that and you're feeling these things and it sweeps through you, you can't but hope for the American dream. I mean, it almost seems guaranteed. Now, what size timeline that's going to be something that's going to rely on you, me, everybody. We are going to decide how short or how long this timeline is to achieve the American dream and to live up to that spirit. But I can tell you this, everybody's wanting the same thing, and that is liberty across the board. Everybody has different ideas how to get there. But that's how I felt. That's why I have hope for the American people more than I ever have.
It's interesting because, both John and Mike, I mean, you're 100% right. I agree with you completely, but there's one little facet that I think Carrie's question leads to that I feel walking away from this trip. And that's the level of resolve that I have. Look, what we want to accomplish as an American people, as a country, it is well established. It's not hard. Look, I didn't create this idea of unity. I didn't create this idea that we could come together and stand together. No, this was actually created a very long time ago. And it is the same concept that has been fought for again and again and again. And unfortunately, somehow we're still fighting for it, and I don't get it. And so my level of resolve to end this fight once and for all, walking away from DC, is through the roof. I want nothing more than my generation, and the generations on this planet right now to be the last to deal with it. And I think that between all the people that I have met and there are some brilliant people in this world. that have a lot of really great ideas. And I think we have a clear path forward, but we have to come together first. That's why what we're doing here is so important, because without unity, there is no American dream. I mean, let me make that clear. The American dream does not exist if we are not one people. That's how serious this is. If we continue to allow ourselves to be divided by this group or this ideology or this thought process or this, then there is no America. Then we will fail. Like, let me make that perfectly clear. We have to come together. Without unity of the people, unless we stand as we the people, we are destined to fail. So I just have to say that, like, my resolve is through the roof. Whatever it is that we're building here, however we move forward every single day, I'm going to remember that, like Mike said, that ocean of headstones. It's not just that I have more hope for the American people, but I got to see firsthand how many of those American people, my brothers and sisters, that were not only willing to, but did sacrifice their life. They gave everything they had, everything. And they are laying in the ground. That there are soldiers in Arlington from every single war we have ever fought, all the way back to 1776. Let that sink in for a second, you guys. Ever since we were fighting for our independence, we have buried our soldiers there. And we still do it to this day. Like, the resolve I feel after seeing that, it's big, you guys. It's really, really big. Carrie, that was an amazing question. Thank you for asking that of us. And yeah, like, I think it goes without question that we are all more hopeful for the future, more hope. Like, look, the American people are not the problem.
Nope.
Like that, like, hope for the American people. We are the people. Like, and we are not the problem. Like, and we are not each other's enemy. And all the things that we say, all the things that we point out that we all kind of resonate with, like, it's very, very true. And seeing DC literally puts that in the forefront of your mind. You cannot climb the steps and stand where Martin Luther King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech and not feel like, man, we can do this. We can do this. Because I stood right there in that spot, you guys. I looked out over that pond, looking up at the Washington Monument, from one man that had a dream to another. And I thought to myself, how are we still fighting this? And I can't help but think, like, we have an obligation to finish this. The dream of the Declaration of Independence. If you read the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, just the Declaration, right? It wasn't reality then. And our forefathers knew that, but it was a promise. It was the promise of America that all men were created equal, right? We have an obligation to make that happen. Sorry.
That was beautiful. I was just about ready to go get my flag and start waving it in the background.
Eagle, eagle, flag, flag, America.
Let me ask you something. Has either one of you guys met anybody that's hated America yet?
I've met a lot of people that hate the current state of America.
Sure, but they hate.
I've met a lot of people that hate symbols. I've met a lot of people that hate how certain people love symbols more than ideals.
Sure.
I've met a bunch of people that hate things about this country, but not this country.
What about you, Patrick? Have you stumbled across anybody who hates America yet?
Yeah, I guess I have to say that I have. Not many, but, you know, when you're burning the American flag and you're screaming death to America, it's kind of hard to think that you love America. And seeing that
death to America, that's pretty much a game changer.
Seeing that firsthand and being in that situation. But you know what? Just because they feel that way right now, I don't think that that's like the end of the road for them either, right? Like, I think maybe those people that were involved in that night, maybe they just don't know. Maybe they haven't had the opportunity to walk Arlington. Maybe they had a really shitty history teacher. I don't know. Or maybe they're just upset.
I think that those people might love what our country is supposed to be for and really hate the fact that it's not. They might really, really be disillusioned by the way things currently are and think that America is a failed experiment that they really wished would have worked. But I don't think that they actually hate this place. I just think that they're in such a bad state that they need to lash out at something.
It's possible. It's possible. But outside of that one experience, no. No, I've never met anybody that openly just hates America. And Mike, just so you know, your puppy's getting a lot of love in the comments.
Yeah. Spoiled girl needs attention.
I think here's what we have to remember. I think, honestly, what it really comes down to is our youth. Let's be real. Our youth are more compassionate. And what I mean by that is the true term compassionate. Like, they're ruled by their humanitarian passion, right? So you walk up to them and you say, hey, so-and-so is, hates his life, and, he's getting beat up and oppressed and destroyed. And the only way that we can save him is by getting together and doing these things. Our youth not having the great conflicts that previous generations had, where we had a clear defined enemy, for instance. Like, we always talk about World War II and World War I, like the era, like the American mindset during those wars, how we all came together. We had great sacrifice. We had great tragedy, you know what I mean? And we still fought on for the American values. Those things give people a focus. Those people give us a drive, and we have a clear focus and a clear drive and a clear line in the sand. And we're like, this is the enemy. We're the good guys. I think more of our youth are more prone to fall into that. Right now, they're getting bombarded by so much information and so many people, especially these firebrand orator types, the people that are great speakers, and they're like, you live in a systemic racism environment and everything is designed to destroy black people and put them in chains, and nobody, all cops are racist and white supremacy groups are everywhere. They're 90% of white people is white supremacy. When you say those things to these youth and everything, if they pick up even one little hint of that, even like a tiny smidge of reality to it, then they'll cling to it, because this age is the first time that we've given them this empowerment as a generation to be like, don't judge a book by its cover. Look past what is the obvious. Always look for the inner person. Judge individuals based on their individuality. So in a way, we've kind of trained them to do the right things, and we've taught them to do the right things in a way with our society, although there's obviously a parenting gap nowadays. But they don't have any focus for that. So this is their great focus. This is their great struggle in their mind. This is their civil rights movement. This is their Vietnam. This is their, you know what I mean? To them, they think, oh, this is powerful. This is something that I need to be involved in. There's great injustices being done. Problem is when you get someone like that, they become so fanatical, they will do stuff that completely defeats the purpose that they're doing it for. That's when we see, we're like, how many times we've seen right-wing people go, if you claim to be Antifa, stop using fascist tactics. You know what I mean? And that's because when you get caught up in this passionate thing and you're a young individual and you believe all adults don't know anything and you know the whole world, as we know all kids do. As soon as we become teenagers, we know everything. Our parents are dumb. I think that's where it comes from. So that's why it's so hard to reach these people. And that's why I don't believe that they hate America. I just think that they're confused. Very confused.
It's possible. I think, and for some, it's absolutely the truth. And for others, it might be something different. I think it goes a lot of different ways. Rhonda, to answer your question, do I feel that greed is what drives our political system? And if so, do I think that there is a way to counter it? Yes, I 100% do think that greed is, it's like the, what's the term I'm looking for? It's that thing. It's that one thing that we can point to in almost every single situation that drives our politicians to make the decisions that they do. So as far as what we can do about it, there's a lot of things, but we have to take it step by step. I think one of the best things we could do overall is one of the things that that guy right there is most passionate about, and that is to get business out of our government, period. That would be a huge step forward in ending, the greed part of it, because these big businesses, they buy our politicians through lobbyists and future stock options and jobs and positions on the board of directors when they retire and lifetime money and blah, 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 in order to pass bills that protect them and support their business. And, if you're talking defense spending, some of these companies spend a ton of money, buying out politicians' pocketbooks in order to get, the next contract, and that contract is worth billions of dollars. So obviously there's a lot of, so I think we need to get business out of government. I think our government needs to be ran by the people and for the people only. I don't think we need to take business. I don't think the business side of, businesses being allowed to be involved in the political process through lobbying and things like that. I think that's actually really wrong. I think that's something we need to do something about. I think that is one of the directions that we can go as a country that would actually make the most impact for everyone. John, Mike?
You're going to hear this from me a lot. All the breathers. You're going to hear this phrase from me a lot. You might see a podcast from me under this title, but I think it's time for a separation of business and state.
Facts. Hallelujah. Amen. Boom.
I think, and you know what? It's so funny. Conservative, independent, like all sides of the aisle represented. Everybody we've talked to, and I bring this up, or Mike brings this up, nobody disagrees. Nobody. Tell me does anybody in the comments disagree? No matter what side they're on, do you disagree with having business separated from our government? Throw it in the comments. If you do, I would love to ask why. But I've never found anybody that thinks that this is a good thing. So I have to say, is it possible we just found an issue that we could unite under?
I don't know, because Adbusters just tried that at the siege of the White House and didn't work out too well for them.
Here's the thing. Is that
that's their whole platform. I'm just saying.
It is a big part of their platform, but they also aren't ever very clear on it. Even with the Occupy movement, they never really put forth a list of demands or what they wanted. So they just had a general idea.
I got to ask both of you. Do you think Adbusters is legit, or do they represent bought out corporate interests?
Bought out corporate interests. I personally believe that this was set up to fail. I personally believe that I think that the way this went down is indicative of only one of two things. Even if this was all organized and, my understanding of it is Chuck thinks that part of the reason that this got called off was because of a politician reaching out to them and saying, hey, this isn't good for us. I don't think that's a possibility, and I'll tell you why. If they were legitimate in how they organized this, if they had reached out to all these different splinter groups and all that type of stuff, they wouldn't have been able to call off all those people. If this was legitimate and all those different groups were there in DC for this to happen, it would have happened even if Adbusters pulled out. I personally believe that Adbusters hyped this up without ever really talking to anybody of different groups, maybe a couple of their own, maybe a couple of people that were there for Occupy, but I don't think this was legit, and I think it's being used to scare us. I think it's real easy for us to get whipped up into a frenzy of, oh no, this is going to be a huge thing. It's a siege on the White House, blah, 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 blah. Dislike the left, fear the left. And then a week later, we're hearing about more big events from the other side, I'm wondering if they're legit, or if this is all just a thing to whip us up into a frenzy of hating the other side.
Well, if we're going to open up, if we're going to come out and say that we are being deliberately manipulated, then it's also up to us to answer questions as far as where are these deliberate manipulations happening. Sure, it's easy to see the comparisons between, say, Fox News reporting and CNN reporting. That's easy. Like, everybody can see that. That's not hard to see, right? But an event like this, in order to call off that many people in that short of amount of time, like I said before, like, I'm sorry, if they'd have been there and it'd have been a legitimate protesting, there'd have been no stopping it, no matter who called, right? Unless this is organized. So now what I have to wonder is, like Mike just said, I hadn't even gotten, like, we were in Lafayette Park when we ran into somebody else there that does live streaming from protests.
I will be right back.
Like that. No problem, brother. And when we met him, we were having a short conversation. He commented on my hat. Seems like a nice kid. He's been running around doing some cool stuff, right? Trying to do his part. Nothing but respect there. But he's like, well, now I'm probably gonna take off, leave DC, and go ahead, go cover this what's it called? The Proudboy apocalypse. That was the first time I heard about it, was in Lafayette Park, guys. So literally, by the time the one's canceled and closed down, there's already another one on the other side of the country, right? And he said Pittsburgh, but pretty sure it's Portland. And it's just weird. It's just weird. Why? Why, everybody? Ask yourself why. What is it they want to accomplish? We know what they want to accomplish. They want to keep us divided. They want to keep us fighting amongst ourselves. Because, Crystal, you just put this question up, but aside from executive orders, there's no way to get rid of lobbyists. You're wrong. Sorry, but you're wrong. There's one way that we can get anything we want, and that is we unite. We come together as the American people, and we can demand everything that we want. And look, it is our government. But as long as we are divided and fighting amongst ourselves, we're never going to get that done. We're never going to see that happen. And that in and of effect is the problem, right? So then we see this huge siege of the White House. 10,000 people going to be there. And it all turns out to be BS. Now, here's the real question. Would it have happened if Biden was staying ahead in the polls? Is it a political game? Or is it just simply manipulation? Is it just to drum up fear? Is it what's the end game? That's the question we all have to ask ourselves. What's the end game? And here's the problem. I don't know the answer. Mike doesn't know the answer. John doesn't know the answer. We have theories. We're not going to know until they play.
Fear is its own end game. Fear is its own end game. As long as they keep us in a perpetual state of fear and keep scaring us with new things, we follow the little carrot along the trail. Exactly. We follow down the little trail and we make sure we vote for the safe people and the good guys and everything else because, oh no, these are the bad ones and these are the ones that the fear itself is a perpetual standard. That is what's leading this. We've seen it from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. There's always a new thing to fear. There's always a new evil that's rising to destroy America from within, and the citizens themselves must take it upon the burden of their own backs and defeat it with their fear.
And I will say one more thing.
That's the end game.
I will say one more thing. If you think it has to do with the polls, that means that not only are you convinced that you know what the polls are, but that they know what the polls actually are, and that whole thing isn't a game in and of itself, which I believe it is.
Well, I don't remember who told me this, but they were talking to somebody who happens to be they're big into these polls, and they were asking why the polls were so off in 2016. And why they look that way now as well. And it's because middle-class people don't answer anymore. The middle-class demographic just simply doesn't participate at all in the poll system at all. If you call one of them, they're like, nope, click. They don't answer. Let me ask all of you, when was the last time that you got a poll call and you actually answered it? I don't answer them. Mike,
Here's
did you
the
ever
thing.
answer one?
I have, but here's the thing. How many people regularly get them?
That's
Because
another
I've
great
gotten
question.
like 3 in my life.
Yeah.
I think
can't
that
say
it's
that I get them a
chosen
lot.
demographics. You know, if we're having a poll by this organization, it comes out slightly with Biden in the lead because they contact more Democrats. This one comes out with Trump in the lead because they are pulling from his supporter list to give calls. Like it's so constructed, and it's just one more piece of the narrative that they can play with to feel out our emotions and strike up drama.
I'm just saying, you've never seen me and Captain America in the same room.
I am Batman.
Democrats are already trying to scare people over what will happen if Trump tries to put in a new justice. Look, guys, I am going to talk about this. I'm just not going to do it today. We are going to talk about the new justice coming in. We are going to give RBG her due credit. I'm actually digging into a bunch of stuff about her today, and actually I will be tomorrow as well. I want to do something a little bit different than everybody else that you go to is doing, right? Like everybody is wanting to talk about should they nominate, should they not nominate, and they're looking at all the history and everything else. And let's just be real, there's going to be a nomination. Like whether you think there should be or not, there always is. Question is when. When will that nomination come? You know, but we will dig into this probably next week. Or maybe we'll do a special show at some point. Maybe it's time to throw in a special because we do have this hot issue right here in front of us. And if we get all the information together, we will do that. But fear is a powerful tool. You know, look at what they did to us with COVID-19. Now, and this isn't me saying COVID's not real. This isn't me saying that people don't die of COVID, and this isn't me saying it's a sham or anything like that. But look how easily we all walked into our homes and shut the door and stayed in place.
So
that's something we all got to think about, you know?
Just to touch on Ginsburg and her possible replacements and all that type of stuff. I plan on doing my own video on her. I don't think she's well understood by a lot of people. I think a lot of people label her as liberal, and I don't think that's necessarily correct. And I think that she has a lot of complexity to her character and a lot of credit behind her name that we don't necessarily realize. And I'd like to talk about all of that at once. And I was thinking about doing my own video on it. I don't know how many of you knew this, but her first college was Cornell University in my state of New York. She's somebody that I know quite a bit about, and I'd like to try to give her justice in the best way that I can. And I was going to make a nice long video discussing everything from her to the ideas of replacements, if I think that she should be replaced, how I think she should be replaced, and what's most important in her replacement. Because I can tell you now, the thing that I think is most important in her replacement isn't which party picks them. It's their strength of character, and if they care more about the Constitution than political parties.
You know, I was surprised. I didn't know she was liberal. I've always thought of her as like more like a tiebreaker, so to speak, kind of a balancer, you know. But I really knew about her more in her later areas. So I was really surprised when people started calling her liberal. But I mean, I see what you're saying, because when we really look at it, the voting, the way the numbers are and everything else, being the person that balanced out that stage, the imbalance was on the liberal side. So like she had to fill in that balance, so to speak. So maybe she was liberal, but the important thing is we respect the office, right? Just like with the president of the United States, when I talk about, President Trump, I typically do not come at him in a disrespectful manner. When I talk about things I don't like about his policies, I attack the policies, not the person. So just remember that is an associate justice of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. That is essentially the court that upholds the values of the Constitution against all overreach by all other governmental structures. So no matter how you felt about where she leaned on the spectrum, decorum, in my opinion, is due.
I agree, John. Paying respects at this point is what it should be about, and respecting her family. I mean, whether you agree with her vote, or how she voted or what she did as a judge, that is, she definitely had a huge impact. And look, I'm not big on labels. You guys all know that. I think it's time we get rid of them. Things like liberal, conservatives, all that kind of stuff. They're just terms that are used to divide. But the one label that applies to her really well in my mind is progressive. And she stayed progressive throughout her career. It's interesting. The more I learn about her, she's a very interesting character. Doesn't mean I agree with a lot of what she stood for, but there's definitely some that I absolutely agree with. Which is why I called it progressive.
I completely agree, Crystal.
I called it progressive.
I completely agree, Crystal.
And look, guys, you got to understand something, though. Like, I'm actually, you know what? Not today. We're not talking about this today.
Sorry.
I don't want to dive into this.
I have one more thing to say on this.
An entire show.
Let Mike speak. He never interrupts us.
I know.
I have one more thing to say on this, and it's regardless of whether she was whatever side of the spectrum to you, whether you see her as this or that woman deserves a lot of respect, and not just because she's gone now. That woman, it takes a lot to be one of the first women in those job fields. It takes a lot to be one of 9 women in a class of 500 men in your law school, and to graduate the top of your class. It takes a lot to be one of the first people that's female that gets offered a teaching position at one of those prestigious Ivy League schools. Well before she had a vote that went either way, that woman did a lot of things worthy of all of our respect.
Again, it's a subject I think deserves an entire show. So, Mike, I agree with you completely. And like I said, we are going to do an entire show on Ginsburg. I think she's earned that. But I want to make sure it's a show that represents her in the truest light that we have, right? Like the truest way that we can. And if nothing else, she was an American, and she was an American Supreme Court judge. And that should be enough for all of us to offer our respect. Now,
especially if you support law enforcement.
Changing gears real quick, because we are at the 54-minute mark, and we try to keep these at about an hour. I want to jump into this weekend and what we've now decided. What we've now decided that we are in fact doing. John Lee and I will be going to Portland to see what this Proudboy apocalypse is really about. We will be live streaming it, obviously, through Breathe America, so you guys will get the chance to see it for yourself. We will be there. It is the 26th, which I believe is Saturday. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right.
So we're leaving Friday. We're going to be there Saturday all day, and we're coming back Sunday.
Yeah.
Real short trip. We're going to be there for this one event, this one night, just like I did before. And we're going to go see what it's really about. You know, I was more than willing to go to Portland and sit down and spend 2.5 hours with a protester and give them a voice and I'm more than willing to go to Portland and sit down with the Proud Boys and give them a voice and hear what they have to say. Ultimately, that is what Breathe America is all about. Yes, we did get over to the Supreme Court House. I did my morning thoughts on the last day that we were there for that from there. But yeah, so Proud Boys event this weekend. I honestly didn't know much about the Proud Boys. The truth is, the first time I'd ever heard about them was when Lipstick brought them up when I was in Portland before. And I hadn't had much reason to look into them again, but their name keeps popping up all of a sudden. And then it popped up while we were in DC, like I was saying, in Lafayette Park. And now I've been digging into it. We've come up with some interesting things. Thursday's show, Live with Breathe America, is going to be about Proud Boys. It's going to be everything that we can find about them, our thoughts, our opinions on them, what we can find, what we can't find. We're gonna dig right into them. We're gonna see what kind of organization we can, what information we can find about the organization as a whole. I have some people on the inside of that organization, or people that are close to people on the inside of that organization, getting us a bunch of information right now. Yes, Dylan is in Portland. He is obviously well aware of this. He will be there covering it as well. We may be meeting up with Dylan. We may be meeting up with the Black Conservative Preacher. So this is going to be kind of like a group event for a bunch of different people being there. And if I'm not mistaken, John, you've got somebody else coming with us as well?
Well, I just thought that it was time that Breathe America saw a little bit more of that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man, Aaron Schaefer, a.k.a. Beats from The Reflection. He is going to be joining us for Eyes on the Scene and giving his perspective. So hopefully we don't get shot. He's very loud and he doesn't censor often. So we should be fine as long as he stays.
Yeah, you tell Beats for me, we don't take guns to protest.
He's not going to pack Now understand that when we have this conversation with him, he's going to tell us that we're infringing on his right to bear arms. I already know Beats. Yes. I already know Beats.
I have no. Well, I want to look. There's safety protocols here, and it is best to go unarmed. Trust me. I get it. I can actually carry an Oregon, which is saying something, because Oregon, it's hard to get a concealed weapons permit over there. But I still don't carry for that very reason. It's not a good idea. I think it's very dangerous. You guys, there's a lot about this that we'll get into on Thursday. But that is in fact what we're doing. So no rest for the wicked. heading right back out
again.
But yeah, it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. We're going to see when we get there. From what I've learned so far about the Proud Boys, interesting group. There's definitely some interesting things about them. I'll just leave it at that, and we'll explain that on Thursday when we dig into them as a whole. And I will say, John found a little piece of dirt today that I found really fascinating. We'll definitely be talking about that. So you guys are going to want to tune in and see that. Yeah, right, Billy? So
no rest for the wicked.
Right?
No rest for the wicked. And the Wilkinson doesn't need any.
Billy, you're so funny. You're so funny. But yeah, so that's the plan for this weekend. That's the plan for the rest of the week. For those of you that don't know, we have a book club on Wednesday nights. Inside the book club of Breathe America, you can find it in the page section, the group section under pages. We are currently reading a book called The Power of Now, and I believe we're discussing chapters 6 and 7. We'll be discussing chapters 6 and 7 this week. And hey, Kristen, if you're listening, and anybody else in the book club, I need your guys' opinion on doing this as a group call with everybody inside the group where we're all on camera together. Would that be something you guys would be interested in? John has a show coming up tomorrow, or on Wednesday, excuse me, The Reflection with Mr. Aaron Schaefer himself. I'm not sure what they're talking. What are you talking about?
We're actually launching into qualified immunity, and if everything goes right, we'll actually have a an MP that was in the military for several years, identifies as a law enforcement officer, and he'll be talking to us about some of his experiences and his thoughts on qualified immunity. You might even see Mr. Patrick Wickard or Mr. Mike Wilkinson take a surprise appearance on that one. So it's worth tuning in. It should be a really good one because I don't think any of us agree on anything about qualified immunity, really.
Well, we might. You never know. Stop. Briggs wants to say hi. Stop. Don't lick my face. But yeah, so I think he's upset because he heard the other dog was getting some love.
Amy, this is America, and I have a constitutional right to as many Java monsters as I can buy.
I agree, Amy. If we're going to limit his Java consumption.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Mike, this idea of your own show, what kind of, or this own video for Ginsburg, when you feeling like doing that? Is that coming up soon, or is that something you're going to need a little more time on?
Sometime this week. Let's put it this way. It's going to be after I get done with doing all the photos.
Gotcha.
And it's probably going to incorporate, or I'm probably going to make a post that incorporates all of my stuff from the Supreme Court, because there were a lot of beautiful messages left by people touched by her and her legacy.
It was incredible to stand out in front of the Supreme Court that morning, and there were so many people there.
Diane. Wait till you see me,
Diane,
Patrick, and Aaron all on the same broadcast in Portland talking about this stuff. That'll be something that'll drive you to drink.
Hey, it'll be cool. We're gonna be all right. You know what? We're gonna be all right. I just want to close in saying again how grateful I am for all of you guys. Not just and you and Mike, John and Mike both for coming. I'll tell you, like when the difference between going to Portland by yourself and walking in with a protester that you really don't know versus walking into a situation with your friends and people that have your back, it's a very, very different situation. I much prefer to go with people that I know have my back, and I appreciate you guys being willing to go and put yourselves in these situations with me. John, I mean, obviously we're a special kind of intelligence, so we're going to gear up and do it again. I think John really wants to get a feel for what it's really like, and it's a tense thing. I don't know enough about how this is going to. I mean, there's no way of knowing, you guys. Just like there was no way of knowing that they were going to pull the plug under the siege. So, but DC,
if all reports are okay, like if all reports that we've gotten from people that know the Proud Boys and people on the right that have been saying things, then we shouldn't have any issue. We should be able to walk right in there, talk to anybody we want, as long as we're respectful. Like there shouldn't be a dangerous aspect to it. You know what I mean? Like they're just patriots. They're just people who love America, and they're showing up to show that they love America. So like, I actually have low anxiety on this one. I don't really think that we're going to see a whole lot of anger or violence or rioting, just based on what I've talked to the people on the right, that know these groups and know these organizations. Like, I think we're gonna be fine. I think they're just gonna be, normal people. You know what I mean? But then again, everybody else we've met's normal too. So
I tend to go into all these things thinking like positive, happy thoughts, calm the world thoughts. So, I think this is going to be the same. I think we're going to show up. I think it's going to go over just fine, and hopefully it stays peaceful. Where I think it could get interesting is in Portland, especially. There's a large group of people that are very, very used to protesting, and also a large group of people that are very used to rioting and throwing bricks and preparing to go up against federal police and getting tear gassed and rubber bullet, shot with rubber. They're used to this now. It's their norm. They've done it a lot. And a protest that literally counters all of them, I think, has the potential to bring all of them out in a very aggressive manner. So if anything, that is something we could see. I'm going to hope and pray that that isn't what we walk into, that the people on the BLM side of the protest over there, and they just let this be. But we'll see. We'll find out.
I'm also hoping I don't see it on either side. I'm not just worried about BLM showing up and ruining everything and causing everything to be violent. I'm also hopefully that the Proud Boys themselves will conduct themselves like patriots who peacefully assemble, and they also will not be down there trying to go for trouble. Anybody who shows up for trouble, not on my side. You're not on my side. If you're a jerk, if you're trying to hurt somebody, you're not on my side. I hope everybody just chill and America, freedom.
I stand with everybody that wants to unite this country. Period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we've gone over a little bit. I love you guys. Thank you again for everything. Mike, John, any final words?
Yeah. I want to say thank you to all of the breathers out there, because we wouldn't be doing any of this without them. I want to thank you to you guys. It was an honor meeting you both, and
Thanks, brother.
so much about the experiences in DC wouldn't have been the same without either of you there. Some of the conversations that we had there, I don't think would have ever happened if we weren't in the same room to have the conversations. And it just, overall, I'm really grateful to have experiences like this, opportunities like this. So thank all of you, all the mod team that helps make all this happen and helped us get there, and everybody involved. All the support out there was mind-blowing.
Every time we called needing information, you guys were just on it, just like that. Like, always had our back. You guys are amazing.
You guys are actually
I think that
co-owners.
The beautiful part about Breathe America is we are a family, and we have each other's back, and we support each other. And that is support that I know Mike and John and myself, we got to feel firsthand while we were there. And you guys are amazing, like truly amazing.
I just hope that us streaming and my pictures and us what we have to share talking wise, I hope it does it justice for you guys.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Like, well said, Mike. Well said. John?
Well, I have to agree with Mike, and I have to say thank you, Mr. Wickard, for providing this whole entire dream to manifest. Like I said, we all had our dreams, and you provided an avenue for all these dreams to merge and become something way more powerful than it was. Like, thank you. You have provided destiny for a lot of people in this group, and you've actually provided a real channel for people to deal with this negativity and to deal with this hatred in their lives, and try to be better and try to understand and try to de-escalate. So, and I want to tell all the breathers, Breathe America doesn't work without you. You guys are the ones that run it. When somebody asks me who owns Breathe America, it's Breathe America, the breathers themselves. Patrick's the founder. You guys are the heart, lungs, the intestines, every part of it. Without you guys, we don't have anything. And that's why we're willing to go into particularly possible risky situations, dangerous areas, trying to give you the best information that we can and to educate you to the best of our ability on what's going on in America, just so you can know, because we can't trust mainstream media to do it, obviously.
Well, John, you are obviously, thank you. Thank you. Look, guys, this started out as nothing more than a dream, bro. Like, seriously, it was just this crazy idea. Like, could people actually come together and talk, right? Like, and it didn't start out with anything other than just wanting to make a difference, to be a positive thing in the world, to shed a little love and understanding to as many people as I could. And I wouldn't be in this situation if it weren't for all of you. I wouldn't be in this situation if it weren't for all of the people in the groups and all the people that participate. And as much as I like I told you guys this weekend, like I may be the founder, but like I just feel blessed to be a part of it. Honestly, like this is amazing. And I love you guys. And I love all of you guys watching. And please remember, be a little better tomorrow than you were today. That is where it all starts, you guys. It all starts with you. It all starts with, spreading that love and that positivity. It all starts with us. Each and every single individual one of us has a part to play. And that part is to spread love and understanding. We do it in our conversations. We do it in the way that we treat people. And we do it every single day. Build yourselves up. Reach out to your loved ones. And have an amazing rest of your night. And we will